Today, more witnesses are set to take a stand in the trial of the man accused of calling the shots in the death of rapper Tupac Shakur. Prosecutors say Dwayne Keefe D. Davis orchestrated the 1996 killing in court yesterday. The jury saw video of Shakur's entourage beating Davis's nephew hours before Shakur was killed. The state argues Shakur's murder was an act of revenge. CBS News legal contributor Caroline Polisi is joining us live with the details. So, Caroline, walk us through what we heard from both sides in court yesterday.
Yeah, the prosecution laid out its theory, Vlad, which is, as you noted, not that Keefe D pulled the weapon and shot Tupac himself. Rather, they're arguing that he was the orchestrator of this event, that he obtained the murder weapon that night and that he passed it in that white Cadillac back to the ultimate shooter. And so really, the prosecution used in their opening statements a lot of Keefe D's statements against him. So statements that he has made since around 2008 and thereafter, not the least of which was in his memoir and the promotion of that book, in which he made some pretty damaging admissions. Now, the defense, on the other hand, argues that this was a flawed investigation from the start. It's been 30 years and there has been no prosecution, and that they've known about Keefe D's involvement, potential involvement in this case since around 2008 when he gave a police interview, and yet they didn't charge him until 2023. And so that's where we're going to see these competing narratives play out.
And what are we expecting in terms of who takes the stand today? I think a lot of folks are wondering if Suge Knight will take the stand and if he could be forced to testify.
Yeah, so that is, I'd say Suge Knight is probably one of the most anticipated witnesses on the witness list here. Remember, he was in the car with Tupac when he was shot. Suge Knight actually got grazed by bullets. And of course, he was the co-founder of Death Row Records. Now, Suge Knight has been really outspoken, saying he does not want to be called as a witness in this case, and whoever calls him, it's going to be bad for. So that means that he would be essentially a hostile witness for the prosecution. Now, he can't defy a subpoena. If he's subpoenaed to testify, he will have to testify, but it puts the prosecution in a really difficult position because it sounds like he's not going to be helpful for their case, and yet jurors are going to want to hear from the only living witness to this alleged crime.
So the defense argues that this case is the product of a flawed, decades-long investigation. How are prosecutors fighting back on those claims?
Yeah, look, the defense is arguing there aren't really any facts in this case. We have no murder weapon, no DNA evidence, no actual surveillance of the murder itself, and that maybe perhaps evidence in its chain of custody along the lines of these 30 years. Remember, there have been different lead investigators on this case as people retire and move on. And so they're essentially saying, why did it take this long? And since 2008, they knew about this. They checked it out and it didn't check out, they're saying. So why now are they moving forward when Keefe D is the last person alive that was in the car?
Caroline Polisi, always great analysis. Thank you, friend.